Hi, welcome back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. And I'm so glad you're joining me tonight because we're going to talk about a serious topic. We're going to talk about our young black men and how their lives are being snuffed out daily. And it's being something that we're just accepting, but I don't think we should accept it. My guest today is Kit. And a couple of shows ago, I read off a few names of some black young men that were killed at the hands of white men. And it happens every day. Now the day goes by that you don't see a young black man being harassed by the police officers. And this is 2014. You would think in this day and time, with us having a black president, that this would go away, but it seems that it has gotten worse. So Kit, the last time you were here, you were talking about a number of things, what your parents taught you, what you may teach your young son or daughter whenever you have them, about how to carry themselves around the white man or in America in general. But Kit, do you think that maybe we as a black race, we have gotten so used to being around white people that we may have let our guard down, and this may be why this is happening?
Well, no, I think that in the Barack Obama age, we've been kind of fed this line that we're living in a post-racial America. Look at all the successful, black entrepreneurs. Look at the successful, artists. Look at all these people that they can throw in front of us to say, okay, well, racism is gone because you guys are into the upper echelons of power.
Not really, because I have read articles about basketball players, football players being stopped by the police and treated badly. And you mentioned before Oprah Winfrey in the store being treated badly in the store, and she's one of the richest women in the world.
Yes.
So is it really true that we're at a point where we can let our guard down, where it's safe for us to feel like we're accepted by white people now?
Well, that you made an interesting point. You said that we gave all these examples, but you also gave a counterpoint to say that these people are still harassed, these people are still discriminated against. So we can't be fooled into thinking just because maybe we have a little bit more money or power that the racism goes away. Because I don't really think of, when it comes to anti-black boy racism, that can be circumvented by just a couple examples like Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, Jay-Z, Beyonce, anybody like that. Those problems still persist because there's this well-known writer, if I can think of his name, last name is Zach, but I was reading up on him, and he's talking about there's anti-black racism, then there's black anti-black racism, which means that there's black folks who don't like don't like other black folks, but that is just as powerful of a phenomenon as whites that don't like blacks. And a lot of times a couple of people are given some crumbs to make the people on the bottom feel better. But as we see an influx of more affluent blacks and people getting into the highest positions in the world, there's a reaction at the bottom. There's those whites who react to the fact that they think that they're losing something to minority. They think that their position in life has been affected because only if we can get rid of minorities or only if we can get rid of immigrants or something like that. And we got to realize that in certain instances, when we say the Trayvon Martins, Oscar Grants, Amadou Diallo's, these guys supposedly posed a threat to a white person, but we gotta go into the psyche of that person to wonder why does that person look at you as a threat? So when we see the people who are up in these higher positions, say the Barack Obamas, the Will Smiths, the Oprah Winfrey's, these are very non-threatening blacks. And that's something that we teach our kids. We teach them to not be threatening, to don't be as strong as you feel inside, to hide your talent so people won't think you're too uppity and won't think of you as a threat. Because it used to be that the gang members were the most ominous or the most threatening black image to white folks. But now it seems to be the intelligent black man that's more of a threat to them. So that's why these people at the bottom react. That's why people are like, well, Barack Obama's racism is over because Barack Obama was president. No, he isn't. He's actually not through any fault of his own, putting the pressure on the lower end of the people in the hood and stuff like that, because these people are being viewed as threats. Because once they think that you're taking over, some people, like a lot of white supremacists, feel that way. They feel like, well, they're the president now, so now we're going to be second-class citizens. So what do? We're going to take out their babies. We're going to, it's a evolutionary genetic drift phenomenon.
Hadn't thought of it that way.
Dr. Cress Wilson talks about that. Dr. Cress Wilson, she's a prolific speaker. Her protege, she's the protege of Neely Fuller Jr. and he did the Journal of Race Relations back in the 70s. He talked about racism as a system, because a lot of people think that racism is just somebody calling you a bad name or whatever. Racism can also be that perception of you and them then using their ill thoughts towards you to keep resources from you, to not give you jobs, to not give you housing, stuff like that. And it gets deeper than just being killed. It gets deeper to the point that we have been systematically disenfranchised from a lot of the wealth that America produces. And they're doing it through politicians now, they're doing it through corporatization, they're doing it through absorbing our culture and turning it into theirs. We've seen it in jazz, we've seen it in all the things that black folks have brought to this country and been stolen, But Dick Gregory said, he had a really good quote. He said, we don't have to bring democracy to other countries. And the person asked him why. He said, because if anything is good, they'll just come and steal it. And
you're kind of right.
And that's what happens. And if we look at the real history of things, we read into the books and not just listen to what people say. Most of this country was built by black folks, and we don't hold a chip on our shoulder for it. We're proud of it, but we don't want to be held out of those industries. We want to be able to make money at the same rate today. We just want an even playing field.
Do you think we'll ever get to that point where it will be an equal playing field? Because I have a feeling that the white man fears that we're going to be above them, and that's why they must kill off our black men, young black men, so there won't be many of us left. But little do they know that the Spanish-speaking folks that are coming, they're going to be the majority.
Yes.
Not us, not them.
Yeah.
So that's really who they need to start fearing. Well, I shouldn't say fearing, but more concerned about than us.
But like you said, racism has no logic, though. So they're not thinking on a scholarly level about it. And as soon as you mention race in any form, if a person has racial hang-ups, they have selective hearing. They turn it off, and they listen to react instead of listening to listen to you. So these conversations need to be frank. I mean, we're two black people, and we have these conversations, and we know we have these conversations when we go to our family's house or our friend's house and we eat dinner. But what we need to do is to get people with different ideas or different views of what racism is and how it affects them, and talk to them about what they fear. Like talk to the country boy that he never hung around a black person before. See how he feels about it. Is the media crafting his image of you, or is it because he has black friends? Those things, we have to take it into context. We just can't learn how to subvert racism through a textbook or through a text message. It has to be a face-to-face dialogue. We got to see how you live, you see how we live, and realize that we're the same. So I think that it's a problem that could be remedied, but it takes honest discourse, intellectual discourse.
Kit, on that, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more about this, okay?
All right.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't, because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's one every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
Seven 7,000 high school students drop out every school day. Let's catch them before it's too late. To start helping students in your community, visit boostup.org.
Back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with Kit, and we're having a conversation about what's really going on. Why are all of our young black men being killed today? Kit, when we went on break, I thought about something. do you think maybe our young black men aren't as conscious of what's going on because all of a sudden our generation that's coming up after you, they say they don't see color, like everybody's the same. Do you think that the older white people are fearful of our black men, younger black men, seeing everybody as the same? Do you think that maybe these killings are happening so that they are reminded that, no, you're not like me, you won't be like me, and I'm afraid of you?
Well, I think it's more of an intrinsic thing when we see this white man on black boy crime. It's more of an intrinsic thing. It's a snap decision where they're like, what have I been conditioned to think is a threat? So if I'm watching TV all day, I go back to the media. If I'm watching TV all day and I see rap videos where guys are talking about they carrying guns with them and they're ready to put in work and they're just the worst kind of people, because that's what rap music has made folks think of black America. But we know that's not true. I mean, we have homes, you know, we have families. We do very familiar things. We're very friendly people.
But kid, most older white men aren't watching rap videos, or are they?
Well, they are, but that's it's not that they're sitting down watching like Rap City or no, not like that. But if on CNN, there's a reporting of a shooting, but it's a rap concert. You know what I'm saying? Or they say. The advertising we have on TV, a lot of it is laced with hip hop. So whenever they hear the bad words or they hear the gist of the song that's selling a certain product, they're like, well, that sounds like rap to me. So every rapper must be that way, but they tend to forget the ones who are thinkers, like Common Sense. Like it's a rapper named Common. He was invited to the White House and he to do a poetry thing for Michelle Obama, but Fox News jumped all over him and said, hey, I can't. That he had a song about a cop killer. He had a song about Assata Shakur or whatever, but he was talking about her as a revolutionary, and that was early in his career. So Fox News acted like the Barack Obama administration was hiring a lover of cop killers to do. But
I remember that.
But if they saw his other work, they would see that he's a very prolific, a very, very thought-provoking, a very thoughtful, intellectual brother. And but a lot of times when people have their mind ready to hate you, they have selective hearing. They don't hear about the good you do, they look for the bad. And I think that that's the problem when it comes to people, our perceptions as black men in our community, that people remember the negative. They don't remember what you did positive.
So what do you think we need to do to turn this around? Or is there anything that we can do to turn this around?
I think that there is a surefire way to at least turn it around. Not to eliminate a problem. It's just not feasible to think that you're going to eliminate violence. It's going to happen. But I think that artistic expression and creative thought is what allows people to get that aggression out. It makes you not feel like you're so invincible when you understand your emotional side and you understand how to express that, and you can, you can draw things and paint things and create music that gets that stress out of you. I think that's what's missing, because in our schools now, of course, the budgets are being cut drastically. They're taking arts away. They're leaving sports, because I mean, sports is just a way of that'll be the last thing they take. They'll take the history class out of somewhere, or they'll take the sports team. So I think that what it is that we have to give kids an outlet to express themselves, and as our art starts to define us, and we don't let record labels define who we are, and we define ourselves, and we put our images out there that we want to put out there, people will see who we really are and realize, well, those people aren't as intimidating. They like country music too. They like, they like pickup trucks, and they like houses out in the country. That's not just a white thing. They got to realize that we do have a lot more on our minds than what the media tells them we have on our minds. We have more. We have the same storied history that they have, but it's from a different perspective. And we aren't as different as people think. I think that that's what we need to relate to the kids. And to the point of saying that someone is colorblind, I think that that's a farce that folks want to put on the black people to be like, listen, don't mention how different you guys are. Don't mention your individuality. You know what I'm saying? We got to all be the same people so we won't have to be compared, because maybe they're scared to compete. I don't know. But a lot of times when that color blindness and we are one, that's the most foolish thing you could say to someone, because Dr. John Einrich Clark says that to be a person who has been persecuted for the basis of your skin color, you'd be a fool to say that you don't see color. We do.
But do you think our youth see it that way? I honestly don't think they see it that way.
I think they see it, but they're afraid to acknowledge it because of the campaign of having everybody consider themselves colorblind or under the umbrella of America. And I think that kind of solidarity is great. And I'm glad, and I hope that it's authentic. When they tell us that, I hope it's authentic. I hope it is not just a catchphrase or a bumper sticker that they're going to forget about when they get older and realize that there are people out here who do see color and who hate for color. So I think that that's one of those things that we have to monitor as sociologists, as intellectuals, as scholars of racial politics and racial issues. We got to make sure that we can check out up in 20 years and those people have remained the same, and if they haven't, ask them what changed. Is it a natural progression to start to become a little bit more community centered, or is there anything wrong for communities to want to be to themselves? Like we left out a body of information, a whole lot of different ethnic groups. But if you look at Asians, because I grew up on the West Coast for the last 12 years, 12 years ago, I was on the West Coast, and Asians have really tight-knit communities where they stick to themselves and everything. And of course, they hang out with everybody. I had several friends and dear friends, but they understood the importance of preserving their own culture and to creating their own economies.
But you know, Kip, we as Black people were robbed of that during slavery time when our families were broken up, we were shipped here and there. So we have lost that. How can we get that back?
Well, what we can do, and a lot of people don't see the value in this, is to study our history. To study our history, not the history that's told to us in February, about George Washington Carver and, Madam C.J. Walker, those regular stories they go over every year. We need to see that there was a Black Wall Street in Durham, North Carolina that was destroyed by race riots just because Black folks were aggregating their money and putting it together. And then the whites who were disaffected and the ones who came out of Reconstruction with no skills and they were really poor, the rural whites, they said, okay, we're going to go and destroy this community because these guys they have too much power. Or in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots was it was the first aerial bombing ever in the world. The governor commandeered a plane and had them drop lit sticks of dynamite on the Black financial center that was basically the most complete financial center in America at that time. Is because we aggregated our money. People don't realize that we had our greatest financial bounds right after Reconstruction because we had all the skills and we had all the jobs and we knew how to take care of families and they had to find a way to reconstitute chattel slavery, so they came up with the prison system. Because if you look and check your history, there was no prisons in America until after the Black man was freed. And the whole Jim Crow era was brought up to make laws to disenfranchise us economically to put them back in power because there was a power vacuum right during the Reconstruction time. So we had our greatest economic growth 60 years after Reconstruction, but what knocked us back off track is the integration push that the politicians did, and they were doing the separate but equal thing, and they were like, okay, we're going to have you guys come into our society, but since we own the institutions, we're going to pay you pennies instead of paying you what you're worth. So when we understand that history, we can economically empower ourselves.
It hasn't changed, believe it or not.
It hasn't.
And I want to ask you one more thing, and I know we're running out of time, but I got to ask you this one question because it's burning inside of me. We had talked before about how the white folks, especially the younger generation, they're taking on some of the things that we like to do, like our dance movements, our method of singing, rapping. And do you think maybe the older white people are threatened or embarrassed by those white artists that are trying to create Black music?
I think it's a double-edged sword because more of my music knowledge is in old soul and hip hop, and I have conversations daily about this because, as people know, there's a prominence of more white rappers in rap now, and I think that anybody can be a hip hopper. Hip hop knows no color, but whenever somebody comes in the game and tries to become a caricature of a part of our culture, say a white female rapper trying to emulate a Southern rapper, even though her accent is from Australia or
Yeah,
something
she's
like
not
that.
even American.
Yeah, she's not American, or she's not even.
Yeah.
It becomes a caricature, and everybody should take advantage of the opportunities that's given to them. But when it comes to the history of these innovations and contributions to American culture, when it's taken from us, we have to speak up about that. We got to say, okay, we see what's going on. We see the trend of something that we created becoming diluted. So that's how I feel about entertainment being usurped by those who want to make it more marketable. And usually when it comes to something being more marketable, that means making it whiter. It's just a sad truth.
So do you think that our style of music, when I say our style of music, I am saying hip hop or rap, do you think that's going to slowly fade away?
Well, we got to
do you
make
think
sure
we'll
it
get it
doesn't.
back?
Well, it never really comes back once it fades away, because like I told a friend the other day, they were asking about, the whitening of rap, and I said, well, listen, we can talk about the whitening of several subcultures like jazz,
Yes.
blues, even rock and roll. I mean, we know that it was taken from Little Richard. I mean, he's been talking about it for 50 years. But also, when it comes to hip hop, that's the next thing that seems to be starting to be stolen. I don't even gonna say stolen, but it seems to be assimilated into white culture. And I tell my friends that in 100 years, we want to make sure that we know who really began these uniquely American styles, not the ones that sold the most records because they were more marketable and profited from white privilege. Because all they had to do is put a white face on a black product, and it sold more. That's what they used to do to the R&B singers in the 60s and 70s. They would have a whole album of a soul singer, but the album cover would be a white family on a beach. So we got to be cognizant of culture crooks.
And not only that, just our look, because more and more white women want to look like us, but it'll never happen.
Well, I see what you're saying. Well, with surgery, it might, because
Well, yeah, with
that's the
surgery.
biggest thing now. But on the other side of that, a lot of people do have that complaint, like, oh, well, white girls trying to look like black girls, and white guys are trying to look like black guys. I never saw a problem with that. I really saw it as showing reverence for our culture and the beauty they see in us. I mean, everybody wants to look like what they're not. A lot of people, when it comes to like straightening of hair or the lightening of skin or certain hairstyles. But I was reading this article the other day that was very interesting. It was about Asian kids who emulate black culture, and they have the straight hair that most people in the world want, but they perm their hair to make it look like ours. They wear gaudy makeup. They do their makeup in a way that looks like our eyes. They wear gold grills and they wear the clothes, but they don't do it in a way that they're not being buffoon about it. What they're doing is they're showing reverence, and they make sure they show reverence to the culture. They don't try to turn rap into Japanese or a Chinese art form. They show reverence. So I think that when I see cultures fertilizing other cultures, I think it's a good thing, because out of that becomes these grassroots new things, because that's how hip hop came about. It wasn't just something that was thought up one day. It took a lot of different cultures coming in and making it what it is today.
Kit, we could go on and on and on about this. You've got to come back. We've got to
Okay.
talk about this stuff some more.
All right.
Because I think it's good to get it out there, and I think people need to hear a young black man's point of view.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me that forum to do it.
And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining my show, Better You, every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. here on Public Access 21. Thank you so much. I owe you big time.